There were two elderly ladies in the front seat dressed to the nines, and they threw their hands in the air and shouted to us, "Don't shoot, we're Republicans."
It's like has lots of movement to it.
Not to mention Raheem Devine.
I'm Dottie Peoples, and you're watching Branching Out.
I'm nominated for Female Artist of the Year.
Hi everyone, I'm Gloria Gomez from Bass Wives LA, and you just caught me on Branching Out.
Hi, we're the Braxtons, and you're watching Branching Out.
Thank you for watching Branching Out.
Peter Weiss.
You are watching Branching Out.
I am Cherie Branch with BranchingOutTV, and I'm having a conversation with retired FBI agent Mr. JackAOwens. So, Mr. Owens, how is it being retired?
It is thoroughly wonderful. I've been out of the FBI now for over 20 years.
Wow. And you also have written a book that is based on the years that you were an FBI agency. So you want to tell me about that book? I think the name is Don't Shoot, We're Republicans.
Yes, the name of my memoir of 30 years in the Bureau is called Don't Shoot, We're Republicans, and it was based on an actual roadblock in rural Alabama when we were waiting, in 1983, Cherie, we were waiting on a bad guy to arrest him, and he drove right into our roadblock. We rushed his car, took him out of the car and handcuffed him, but the problem was there was a car immediately behind him, so we rushed that car too. It's late at night, and we opened the door. The dome light came on. There were two elderly ladies in the front seat dressed to the nines, and they threw their hands in the air and shouted to us, "Don't shoot, we're Republicans."
That had a meaning behind it, right?
Well, it did. I filed it away and was thinking, when I retire and start writing, I'm going to use that as a title for my memoir. And I did.
Wow. So
it was a perfect title for my book.
If someone was interested in purchasing that book, where can we find it?
You can find it on Amazon. It's the quickest way to get it. Just go to Amazon. It's sitting right there. JackAOwens, Don't Shoot, We're Republicans. You can't miss it. I'm on the cover.
You also wrote another book about a pot series, Pot, Thistle, and Black Pepper. Tell me about that book.
Yes, I've written 4 novels in addition to my memoir that we just discussed. My first novel was called Watchman, JFK's Last Ride, and it was about the assassination of John Kennedy. And then I wrote 3 more novels about a serial killer in Birmingham who the police, actually in Alabama and parts of Birmingham and other places, the police can't catch him. It's a satirical black comedy book, all 3 of them. And the third of the trilogy is what you just mentioned, what I published a week ago. It's called Pock, Thistle, and Black Pepper. And you know, Cherie, it's not a good time to publish a book in the middle of a pandemic. My timing was terrible, just terrible. Eventually, I'll be able to get out and promote this 4th novel, the 3rd in the Pock trilogy, but I'm just sheltering in place like probably you and everybody else.
Mr. Owens, speaking of this difficult time about the coronavirus, what do you think about? You know, what do you think is going on, and what do you think this virus came from?
You know, I assume that the doctors and scientists, Cherie, who have talked to the world and the American people are correct, that it came out of China. You know, I spent a lot of years during the Cold War going against the Chinese Communist government, what we used to call Red China, and you couldn't trust them at all. I do, though, believe that what we're dealing with now originated in China, although they were not very open about it, were they? They concealed information, and eventually it came to our shores and has been very tough on Americans. My wife and I are sheltered in place, and we expect to be here, Cherie, probably at least another month or 2 months. We're going to stay here. We're not going to take any chances. We're having our groceries delivered, which we think is a good idea. You have to be careful.
Right, yes. Mr. Owens, there's also something else I would like to talk to you about. You was one of the FBI agency that was on the stakeout of the night that Wayne Williams was apprehended. Tell me about that night.
Yes, that night is seared in my memory. It was a very important and significant night. FBI agents and local police, Atlanta Police Department detectives, we were in groups all up and down the Chattahoochee River watching various bridges. And my bridge was one bridge down from the bridge where Wayne Williams pulled up on the Jackson Parkway Bridge and got out of his Chevy station wagon, Wayne Williams did, and dumped the body of Nathaniel Carter in the Chattahoochee. Williams was not a big guy, but he was strong enough to lift this huge garbage bag covering Nathaniel Carter's body. And on the river bank was a police cadet who'd been there the 2 weeks that I was on a bridge downstream waiting for something to happen. And by golly, Cherie, it did. Williams dumped that body over the bridge down into the water, and we recovered the body a day or so later downstream. And there is no doubt whatsoever in my mind or the mind of the FBI agent one bridge above my bridge who saw Williams do it. Williams got out of the car and was strong enough to lift Nathaniel Carter's body and dump it over the bridge into the Chattahoochee River. It was a horrible thing for that cadet to see, although it was late at night, almost daybreak. And Cherie, FBI agents and Atlanta PD detectives were sitting on those bridges for 2 weeks. We were about to wind down and try some other technique when Williams drove right into our trap, our surveillance, and dumped the body. I'd like to tell your listeners, your audience, that I firmly believe that Williams is guilty of these crimes. I couldn't tell you how many crimes. It may be 24 or up to 30. We're not sure. But consider this, Cherie. After we apprehended Williams, there were no more murders the way there had been, similar to the ones that had been before. We got the right guy, thank goodness.
So, Mr. Owens,
you tried and convicted. And Cherie, the only reason he wasn't executed, he never confessed.
Right, he has, and to this day, he has never confessed. And as a matter of fact, they're doing an HBO documentary on him, and he's claiming that he's innocent. Why do you think now, allegedly, that they are pointing, that they have evidence that are pointing direction at someone else? Are they saying that could possibly be the KKKs?
I don't believe that at all. I know Williams did it. We have scientific evidence that shows that he did it. There were hairs and fibers in his car, his Chevy station wagon, in his car and in his bedroom at home that matched the hair and fibers from the victims' bodies. Wayne Williams is guilty of murdering those kids. He was a black male. We knew we were looking for a black male, because otherwise a different race would have stood out in black neighborhoods in Atlanta. And you know, Cherie, that was a horrible, horrible time for Atlanta. Everybody was anxious and afraid. You can't be afraid someone's going to kill your child. You can't sleep at night. You can't have any kind of life. It's a life of anxiety. The whole city felt it was on edge. You know it was. But I can tell you from the FBI's investigation, which is thorough, and not only the FBI, Cherie, but the really terrific people in the Atlanta Police Department who did such great crime scenes searches and provided the evidence to convict Williams. He is guilty. The Klan wasn't involved. I know that to be a fact. I have only seen the first episode of the 5-part documentary on HBO.
Right.
I'm anxious to see the rest of it. I tell you and your listeners and the people who are so vitally interested in this case, I tell you that we in law enforcement, we invite any scrutiny that anyone wants to put on this case, any spotlight. I invite anyone to investigate this matter.
But Mr. Owens, why wasn't he formally charged for those crimes? Why didn't they actually bring him forward to be charged for those cases?
He was charged with 2 murders that we knew from hair and fiber evidence could be pinned on him. And there were 2 murders. One of them was Nathaniel Carter, who Williams dumped off at Jackson Parkway Bridge into the Chattahoochee. All those others, he could have been tried on those, but it would have been an extended trial. And the prosecutors had the hair and fiber evidence to convict him because all that evidence from the victims was in his car, his station wagon. There were clothes from the victims, and in his bedroom at home. He was living with his parents. Wayne Williams was a very intelligent guy. He listened to police radio. He liked the thought of matching wits with police. He was a loner. He had never really achieved anything, Cherie, of significance in his life. But what gave him a thrill, though, and a feeling of accomplishment was murder, homicide. He was a very sick person, and he felt he could control his destiny by murdering people. He had lost control of everything else in his life. He couldn't do anything right.
Mr. Owens,
I worked on the Kennedy assassination after the fact, worked on it for years. Lee Harvey Oswald was the same kind of loner and unsuccessful person, a loser who wanted notoriety, and he got it by killing Jack Kennedy. Same type of personality for the same reason.
Mr. Owens, why do you think Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is re-examining the evidence? She's thinking that maybe it's possible that he may not be the killer. So why do you think she's bringing it?
I invite the mayor to do that. I invite anyone to take a look at this case. And when you do, you will find that Williams is guilty. I know the Klan wasn't involved. I know someone else didn't commit these murders. It was Wayne Williams. But when you get up into 24 cases, murders of these beautiful young kids, if it goes all the way to 30, there may be some deaths in there that Williams didn't commit, but he committed most of them, and he's in the right place.
Do you think they will reopen the case and re-examine the case?
If they want to, that's fine with me. That's fine with me as an FBI agent on the scene. I have complete faith in law enforcement in Atlanta and prosecutors in Atlanta. Whoever in authority or someone who's not in authority wants to look at that case, that's fine with me. If they want to reopen it officially, that's fine with me. they have my blessing. When they look into it, they're going to find that Williams is guilty. No one else did these crimes.
Wow. Well,
and I tell you, Cherie, I feel so horrible, and I did at the time, for what the citizens of Atlanta were going through. I watched it from my FBI office in Birmingham. I was actually assigned to Birmingham, and the FBI director wanted to send some fresh minds, some fresh approaches over to Atlanta. We wanted to offer our help to the wonderful police department in Atlanta and to the prosecutors over there. And we wanted to be there to help. I really was eager to go over there. And I was so gratified, Cherie, when the FBI director picked me and another Birmingham agent to go over there. And by golly, it was the other Birmingham agent, one bridge upriver from me, who saw Williams do it. And this guy who saw Williams do it, he's a wonderful person as a human being and as an FBI agent. He's a terrific agent. I worked with him for years. I have complete faith in the law enforcement who convicted Williams.
Mr. Owens, with the closing of this conversation, what would you want to say to the family, the black community, about the Wayne Williams case? What is the last thing that you would want us to know about the case?
That I'm so sorry that they lost their beautiful children. I wanted to help, and I did the best I could. And I was there the night that FBI and Atlanta PD got him. I was gratified to be there, and I'm thankful that I could do my part. I reach out to all the parents. I'm so sorry for your losses. It was horrible. I can't imagine your grief. God bless.
Difficult times that we're going through right now with this coronavirus. What would you all say to the family who have lost people during this time, this difficult time?
It's utterly horrible, Cherie, to lose family members. And the worst thing, of course, lose your own life to a virus. We have to shelter in place. I'm spending the time with my wife here in Atlanta, in Birmingham, and thinking about Atlanta and all the other cities in America that are going to have to beat this. If we do what we're told, if we follow the scientists, when we follow the science, we will beat this. But we have to shelter in place. We cannot congregate. We'll kill each other.
Mr. Owens, I appreciate you having a conversation with me during this coronavirus pandemic. Thank you for your insight and for your information on the Wayne Williams case. I read an article that a filmmaker quoted, "This case could be political and racial." So we will tune in into the HBO documentary relating to this case. Your book, Don't Shoot with Republican, and plot series Thistle and Black Pepper can be purchased on Amazon. Again, thank you, and you and your family stay safe during this difficult time.